Now there are some skills that you need to practice. Know how to read and construct flowcharts, tables, graphs, and labeled diagrams. Here we have an example of a flowchart. This has been used to represent the steps in the formation of banded iron formations. Please note that you should be using a ruler, and also that there are arrows between the steps and that there are boxes around each of the steps. In this sample answer, you can see that at the first step, we have the leaching of iron from a landmass and transport to a shallow marine environment. This then moves on to the second step, where precipitation of iron oxide when the iron mixes with oxygen in more oxygenated water. And then the third step of the flowchart shows that iron and/or oxygen is depleted and silica is precipitated. Here we have an example of a table. Again, make sure you're using a ruler, that your table has a heading, and that your columns have appropriate headings. Where necessary, please use units. This question is for a comparison of earthquakes. One is for South Australian earthquake, and that's being compared to an Indonesian earthquake. It goes through comparisons of probable causes of earthquakes, probable magnitudes, and probable depth of focus. And it really nicely summarises the information. Now, when constructing a graph, make sure that you have a heading, that your axes are labelled and include units where necessary. You use a pencil and a ruler, that your axes have appropriate scales, that you plot your data points correctly, and you know how to draw a line of best fit. Here we have an example of a graph. Please note things like it has a heading, that the axes are labelled and include units. Also, have a look at how the line of best fit appears here. Make sure you know how to do a line of best fit. Another skill that you need to be proficient in is drawing of diagrams. Again, use a pencil, use a ruler for where straight lines are necessary. Make sure that it has appropriate labels and that you include a key when necessary. Here's an example of a diagram from a past HSC paper. Make a note of the key. Also note that all the important information is labelled. Now let's have a look at other key things in EES that you should go over. In your exam paper, you actually are provided with the geological timescale. You'll find that at the back of your exam paper. You should know how to read it and use it. Write on it some of the major features. For example, when did the first land plants appear, or when did the first land dwellers occur? Practice this before your exam. Some of my students actually make this one of the first things that they do when they are able to write in their exams, so that they don't forget that information later. Tectonic plates. You should be familiar with a map of tectonic plates. Know at least some of the names of the major tectonic plates and understand the types of interactions that occur between plate boundaries. Now, a nice way to compare, say, continental and oceanic crusts is to draw a table. And here we have an example of a comparison between continental and oceanic crust. See that we have straight lines, that the columns are labelled, and this really easily and nicely puts forward a lot of information that the examiner can go through and check very easily. Be familiar with the evolution of the Australian continent. Be able to discuss how it formed. Where are the oldest rocks? Where are the newest rocks? Be familiar with the map of how the Australian continent evolved. Another question that pops up from time to time is on sewerage treatment processes. So what are the steps involved? We have primary, secondary and tertiary treatment. It would help if you could create a flow chart to help illustrate those steps. Now during your course you would have carried out some practical investigations. These weren't just for fun, they actually cover syllabus outcomes and you can be asked questions on them. For example, you should have planned and performed a series of investigations to determine the effect of compaction or tracking of soil. Know the type of terminology that is used with respect to practicals. What are the types of variables? Independent, dependent, controlled? What does accurate mean? This means the exactness or precision of a measurement relating to the degree of refinement in measurement or specification. When are results reliable or valid? Know how to write also the different sections of a practical report, for example, hypothesis, method, and conclusion. Each of these have a different style.